Hello everyone. Today is Monday and we are here in the website's call. I'll drop the link to the meeting minutes. So add your name to the attendees list. Looks like something's wrong. We're not getting topics.
Yeah, yeah, we do. Yeah, I think part of it is like potentially my lack of focus on learning paths, because there's some good work that's happening there.
Also, like we have the mesh.io changes, but like I don't think we have this design or something ready. Like there we discussed about we need to have much changes on it, right?
Yeah, see that's actually, so that's a great point. That a lot of times in the Mesh3 development call, we don't really get into Mesh3 URL, like into the design of Mesh3 UI. I really spend a lot of time on it, and this is certainly a front end oriented meeting. So it's like Nikhil Sharma is here, and he's begun to contribute to Mesh3 UI. Like we should talk about it, because there's like an unbounded amount of things to do there. It's good.
Okay, so hello everyone. We'll start off. The first one is Devopriya there in? No. Okay. So the first topic is the call out section to discuss. I think Devopriya isn't present, so we'll just look into like I think we are ready for this final review. I've added a comment. So this is the section currently. So any comments on this?
Nice, good. I think it's, well, at least from what I can tell, it's using the same animation, same transition, same blur, distance, etc. as, and maybe even radius as the other, well, not the same radius maybe, but as the other buttons, which is good. It's like it's a big button in the, or it's a call out in the form of a big button. And in this case, instead of shadowing with, black, it's doing it with the Caribbean green. And nice. It mixes up the, it's good. It mixes up the site. It's when I see it, maybe when I see it on my screen, like I don't know how well the dark jungle green goes when it's so close to the full black footer. I don't know if they're gonna look like slightly off, like one of them was off. The other thing is there's the uneven spacing between, like, I don't know if we're intending to place it on this page or not, but there's basically two call outs right next to each other. And that's probably not exactly what we want to do. If we were going to land it here, we'd want to have even vertical distance between the elements, between the two sections. So Aditya, I know you've collaborated on this with Devopriya. I think it's ready.
So the plan would be to move out the first call out. I don't know how it's on this page. It's actually on the FAQ page where there's the top call out is not mentioned there. I think it's community/FAQ if I'm not wrong. Yeah, this page. So this is how it is. And the jungle green right now, it's because of the screen sharing, I think. Because if you look at it on your own screen, I think it's distinguishable between the footer and the call out.
Right.
I think like it's visible. Yeah.
I think it is distinguishable. Actually, that's kind of the issue is like, well, like you guys did, you and Deborah Priya did well. I think it's ready. Like, I think you did well. I think you took in all of the feedback. I think it fits on this FAQ page very well. The width matches with the question above. Like, it's a great follow-up to it's. I think it plays nicely. This is kind of frustrating for me to have to say it to myself. Like, it's frustrating for me that we're sort of in this situation where black, and it's almost like we have this dark jungle green intentionally. It's part of our color scheme. It's intended to feel like layer 5. And then we used full black in the footer. Why? Because it pops a little more. There's higher contrast with the logo and the rest of the footer. And so the black, like I can't tell you, you'd be ashamed probably at how many hours I spent looking at the difference between colors on like the footer between Josh was right there when it was happening. And anyway, the thing is like they are distinct and you can tell. And when they're adjacent to one another, I don't know, how does everyone else feel about it? Does it feel like you're looking at something that's slightly unintentionally off? Like there were different individuals that created these things and they didn't, they didn't collaborate. And so.
Yeah, now that you've said it, like it feels like that.
Yeah. It's subtle, right? And it might be one of those things where sometimes those subtle things, most of the time, it's just a lot of times people can't put their finger on what doesn't feel like the best. And sometimes it's like they can't put their finger on just why it feels so great. And I think that is potentially one of them. So the short of it is, shoot, I wonder if we should try, I think using this green probably works well when it's not sitting adjacent to the footer. When it's adjacent to the footer, like black on black would it would complement better, but it almost at that point looks like we had a lack of imagination. We have like a layer 5 logo, another layer 5 logo. They're both on black. They're both like, so you can see I'm just like going around and around. But, so like it might be the case that it's a different color that goes in there. Maybe there's no fill. Maybe it's just a small solid outline. I don't know. I don't think that I think we're in a better position if we add this. Like I think it's additive but yeah, there's an open question about the colors. Where else could we land this? I mean, so there's a number of places on the site that we need to land this particular call out. One of those places is if you just go to /community, I would think that like part of the community is engaging in the discussion forum. On the community page, we have a number of sections. There's like a section. So Josh, if you sort of scroll us through the page a little bit, there's newcomers, there's meshmates, there's community members. Like, so for these different sections, like it's possible, it potentially plays. If you scroll down one more section. Okay, and another one. Okay, like more or less taking, like if we took those two, join the community and join the conversation as like two separate side-by-side call outs, that might feel a little better, because at this point, like they would be stacked on each other. Yeah, I think we just said that a second ago, I'm sorry, but yeah, so I always feel bad sitting here talking aloud with everybody, and like everyone else is bored while we try to figure out where to put something like on the blog. Actually, if you go to the blog, that's probably like, we've got some widgets that we can, yeah, I mean, this, like if we insert this as a widget in between, like we don't want to have it up against the footer again, fine. So if you go in between tag, yeah, except the footer is just below that, which is gonna, so if we put it above subscribe to the newsletter, yeah, except for then in the footer, it says subscribe to the newsletter pretty quickly after that. So if you put it in between tags and categories, it might, that might, yeah, somewhere in here between one of the existing widgets. Probably we wouldn't want to have join the community as the last thing because it's going to bump up against that color issue. Now, Aditya, as you go to refactor into a smaller area, it might be that you end up dropping a line. It might just say join the conversation with the logo. You might not have room for that second line, whatever it says. But yeah, that's a good spot. I think there are other spots, like if you just go to slash projects, some of the, like I think like slash projects I think is fairly bare, if I recall. It's nice, it's a nice page, I like it, but there's no, okay, then there's the call out to the community meeting, which is great, but actually that can be condensed to half of the width, and you can put the yeah. Aditya, does that sound okay? There's a couple of places to land it. Nice. Okay. And if no one else has a disagreement, we may as well move on. It's nice. It's always painful to get a new design fitted, but I think we did. I think we're there. Just ask Nikhil Sharma about the pain involved in getting a new design going. He's got an open PR for kind of a dark mode, Meshry.io, which is pretty, pretty sexy. But it takes a little, we've got to spend more time on it. So anyway, I think we're good to move to the next topic. I think we lost Josh, I think. So I'll share. So we've got, so we just had Devo Priya sound off on the, just kidding, Aditya. We had, good. All right, so Josh, I think we're okay to go to the next item here.
Yeah, like I'm having some light issues, so yeah, we can go on to the next one. It's the but Aditya has mentioned he won't be able to discuss about it as he is not at home. So maybe if you can share and want to share any comments, probably that would work, because he won't be able to demo anything.
Yeah. Here's okay, I missed part of what was said, but if
he's not at home, like he will not be able to share anything.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay. Yeah, if so, Aditya, is your latest work inside of the staging -discuss?
No, not yet. It's still on my local.
Gotcha. It won't hurt. I don't think it'll hurt anything for you to, when you do get back to your local machine and you do go back into staging, to go ahead and pop out a few test emails to the folks that are on the call. And
yeah, I'll do that today. I'll put it up on staging today and then send out a few test emails.
Nice. Okay. One thing to be aware of, if you did you get a chance to fix that aspect ratio?
Yeah, I've done that on my local. I fixed it.
Sweet, good deal. Nice. Wait, well, since we're talking about email templates, if you all don't mind, this is related. So Shayatan had worked on an email template. He used MailChimp as the kind of WYSIWYG designer for creating a mobile friendly, well, a desktop mobile mail client friendly Meshry release announcement template. And we'd been wondering if, so one had been sent out recently. Did all of you get a recent email about Meshry's release of v0.45, I think, 44?
I don't remember getting one.
You didn't, okay. Yeah, so the lists that no, and Shayatan didn't either. Okay, that's disappointing because it would have been nice to see your work. And so, yeah, so the reason that some of you didn't get it then is because we have like 3,000 people signed up to the community newsletter, and sending a minor release announcement to all of those folks is not what we want to do. There is a subset of those people who are interested in understanding when a release is made and what it contains. And so we need to segment the audience. So assuming that is done though, it would be nice if we got to a point by which those Meshry release announcements are essentially automated. And I'm assuming, so everyone is probably aware that when whenever pull requests are merged to Meshry in that repo, and actually in all of our repos, some of you have made sure that all of our repos have release drafter in there. Automated release notes get automatically drafted. Release notes get automatically published to the Meshry docs. Great. So then the last thing that we could do is automatically send out a release announcement, because we already have the release notes. We already have a template. Just get the release notes inside the template and email it. And so this is a good challenge for the Meshry CI working group, in which we could send an email from a GitHub workflow. So Shayatan, I know we talked about this before. You said it wasn't a super high priority, still not. But Shayatan, do you mind creating an issue to track this?
Yeah, Lee, sure. I can make an issue on this.
And not very urgent. There's a number of ways to sort of get that done. I think that one thing that we'll be a little bit challenged with is, it's not that we can't figure out how to send an email from a workflow. It's not that we can't figure out how to copy and paste the release notes into a template. It's that the formatting of those might take a little bit of initial one-time work, but not much. So yeah, let's try it. Let's give it a shot. Part of that, if you could, Shayata, maybe you could just do a search for GitHub action that does SMTP or does email.
Yeah, Lee, sure. I think I have already found one, but the thing is that I don't know how to do it through MailChimp. But there is a way we can send out email, like the plain text emails. But the thing is that I need to figure out how to do it from MailChimp.
Okay, so 3 or 4, 10 things to think about. So one is, we don't have to do it through MailChimp. We can, 2 is MailChimp will let you do it over API, REST API. We can do it using SMTP. So we don't want to send a plain text email. We do want to send an HTML email. Else we would have, the whole template that you made is just for nothing, because we can just send out the release notes right now as an automation. That we can use Google Groups to send it as well. And there's automation around Google Groups. Yeah, so we can download the template, from MailChimp, and so cool. Shaita, any other comments on this?
No, Lee, actually, I need to work on this, and we'll get back to you if I face any difficulty over here.
Okay, nice. Yeah, not the most. What is more important is getting the pattern support for all the adapters, just as a in sequence of priority. Just nice. Okay, Josh. Next topic.
Okay, so the next one is the discuss components. So as we discussed, we'll have to add those two components, the Twitter feed and the leaderboard from our own organization. So you'll have to create those two repos and inform me about them. And for the leaderboard, so as you mentioned, like I've searched much, but like there is not a single open sourced repo that contains discuss leaderboard apart from the one which I showed. But that was just like they use this like they use the same thing, but they just display it on the landing page. So that we have currently on staging discuss.
Yeah, that's not very interesting. Yeah. So okay. So everyone on the call, if you can, let's think about what might make sense for leaderboards here. Anybody have any ideas?
I'll get that about top viewer.
This one, the top viewed post, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, and is that this?
Users, if you select on users.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Is this a built-in?
By discuss.
Okay. So, yeah, this is, I mean, it's nice that you can sort this one. It also.
Yeah, you can select the timeline, like that the week drop down in the top left corner. Left. Yeah. No, just below that.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. It also doesn't. I'm sorry. So it's great that you can sort that, but it also isn't a specific leaderboard. It's not like, it's like users, yeah, for whatever they do, but also it could be this month's top topic creator, or the other one is the top solution provider. Because if someone's answering a bunch of questions, that's nice. It might be that we would default these to a month long. Because once you get like all time most viewed post, well, everyone's interested to see what that one was about, and they just click it and it just doubles down on it always being the same one. And so having it automatically separated by a month helps avoid that. So some of what we're looking at here can be just a segment of like this existing users one. Yeah. It could be like most active user, which would be like a combination of comments and likes and replies and, Anybody have any other ideas? Making it about the user is kind of nice. like top category. Okay, that's interesting for those who are moderating and administering, but much less, it's more of this, the leaderboards are more about incentivizing activity and recognizing those that are participating.
Yeah, like if we want to have this top category only for the maintainers role, then that is already present. So I don't think we need to add them.
Cool. So what would be the most interesting is probably like this one kind of rises to the top. If someone's doing the service of answering a bunch of questions, that's great. If someone is asking a bunch of questions, that's great. Like, but those two might be very encouraging of the behavior of being active. Cool. Anybody have any other ideas? Wait a second. What did I accidentally delete this entire document? Is that what's going on? Something not good happened here. Sorry. Let me. Notes went gone. Oh, we didn't start a new doc. Okay, there we go. Okay. Back to you, Josh.
Okay, so like then if anyone wants to try it out, like creating this component, then you can let me know, or else I'll go further with creating that component. Like before the Twitter feeds, there was a contributor named Rustaman who made the component. So like it's pretty easy, and there is documentation available to how to create a component for it. So if anyone wants to help us with that, then they can let me know.
Nice. All right, nice. Well, let's maybe move the learning paths down below and skip on down to the community handbook.
Okay, so Anita, up to you.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, regarding the community handbook, so far we've made progress. I'm actually happy because all the persons I assigned tasks last week, they've updated the sections and submitted it. So I'm supposed, myself and Ruth were working on reviewing it and formatting it to give feedback. So that's about the content of the handbook itself. But then the website, I created issues last week, and there have been pull requests made, but some persons are still having difficulties signing off. Yeah, I will still create more issues regarding that today, but so far we've made good progress.
It's nice. By the way, Anita, given the size of the handbook and the notion that it'll, it's a living document, there'll be updates to it on occasion. See, it seems fair that we might create a label to like an area/handbook label, just because it's.
Okay. Well, that's a great idea. So a lot of persons would know where to like focus their contributions, because most persons come to me and they say they just want to contribute to the documentation for the handbook, and so that's good.
Nice. And then you were saying there is some updates.
And another thing I wanted to point out, the leadership pathways there. I saw a doc that I wanted to propose. Let me send it here. Okay. Yeah, I saw a doc somewhere, and the way they explained the leadership roles, I think it was really cool. I still on the chaos thing, and I like the way they explained the responsibilities. So if you want to contribute to, yeah.
Yeah, we're that'd be good.
Then pass leadership.
Nice. Yeah, this is great. Like it's a concise list of ongoing either responsibilities or privileges or expectations that different roles have. That's nice. And then yeah, how to become one. Like, what's the contributor journey?
Yeah.
And yeah, which is great. There's another. So I mean, for sure that this first thing that you're showing about roles and responsibilities, like I think this is easy enough to get to. Like it's not contentious per se, or doesn't particularly require a ton of deep thought. So we should. That's great. We should do that. I think that's achievable. And if you want to take the first crack at it, please do. If you don't, that's fine as well.
Okay.
And part of that is like, well, okay. I mean, actually, as I put myself in your shoes and think about it, it's like, well, okay, so yeah, I mean, what are those? What are the names of the roles? Like, what are those roles? And I won't say. Like, I'll let you. I don't want to steal the thunder. But okay, then there's a second component. Is like, okay, great. That's what a person wearing that hat, wearing that role does, or what is expected of them, what they're empowered to do. This one is like, well, how do I become one of those? What do I, what they're highlighting here seems to be, what's kind of funny, because it's like, has the ability to commit directly to the project. And it's like, well, yes, isn't that what a repository maintainer, like what would be described here? And it should be. Okay, maybe they're separating it. So this is, it's funny because, yeah, anyway, whatever. I guess I'm letting semantics come in, like, because this is, for the most part, it's saying, it's a bit confusing. It's like attends the community meetings. Okay, is that a responsibility, or is that like how to become one? Anyway, they need to rephrase a little bit, but it's like, but this is good.
Yeah. But yeah, the idea is that we like we use this as a thing to get ideas from, because a lot of like we're going to have a leadership board, right, for the maintainers and the community managers. But so persons that are coming to the community, how do they know at what point or what efforts they're supposed to make to actually earn a role or a response, a title in the community? So that's just the idea of the path to leadership.
That's fantastic. Both of those are fantastic. As a third kind of follow on, it's and it can be implicit implicitly listed and described in here, or it can be something that's separate, but it's a question of, well, when does someone exit the role? And so I won't try to answer the question, but yeah, like, yeah, or do you know, are there things that have to be done to sustain the role or maintain the role or continue to have the role? This is a great call out here. It's usually existing material. Okay, and I would say that we would want to phrase it differently, like part of your ongoing responsibility in order to move from a community manager to a mesh mate or something like if that was the latter. You part of moving from role to role for us would probably be like identifying your replacement and helping groom one or more replacements behind you. And in general, just like that's part of our mantra is like uplifting others. Like there's a bunch of maintainer spots to have. There's more help needed than we have. So, you know, it's always good to be elevating others.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is great. As you go through this, if you feel like you want other examples or like you need additional inspiration, there's a couple of other links that would pop over, but they're not necessarily any better than this one. It's kind of nice when there's more than just like a step on the ladder, so to speak, because if there's just one, like it doesn't give people a whole lot to look forward to. Sort of what's next, and is there more? And so, yeah. So think about that if you would, as you think on this.
All right.
And then what's cool, I thought in the handbook that's being worked on the website, I thought that there was a GraphQL query going on that ended up showing certain profiles by badge or by like if there was a collection of mentor or maintainers and mesh mates.
Yeah, and under the community, that's where the path leadership would come. I am looking to add the badges for each of the projects, and yes, something like that under the community generally.
Nice. Cool. Nice. By the way, the I guess I never really got around to saying, oh, okay, no. So all of the original content from the She Code Africa effort to combine these, that info is still all here. So that's great.
Yes, it's still here. That's why I don't want to take this out, because some persons actually need this to reference to what the picture we are aiming at.
Got you. Yeah, no, and yeah. While so while there is some redundancy, like, well, I don't know. No, I mean, like it's almost anyway. Good. You guys, I think you're on a great path. There might be some redundancy, and that's fine. Like here, if we're suggesting how people might initially get started and what might be a good way for them to get their hands dirty, if it ends up pointing out some of the same things about
the project,
yeah, it's like, well, that's kind of natural.
No, I actually pointed that out because that's the reason why we had to reorganize this handbook. Some content existing in how to contribute are in community, and some parts in project overview are in like everything is just scattered. So that's the essence. We're trying to like take it out of this doc because this is, yeah.
Sure. I see. And so there's a second Google Doc that's like where you're kind of, you're sort of moving over bits and pieces.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool. Makes sense. Anybody else have comments on the handbook? It's nice. It's good. Okay. Good. All right. Do we want to talk about Measure UI?
Yeah, I think if we have time, we can go ahead.
And so, so Nikhil, do you have an open PR right now in Measure UI?
Yes, I think it's for a responsive issue. I think there are memory chips and operator chips. They were like overlapping each other, so I fixed it for smaller scales.
Oh, I see. Yeah, got it. Okay. So there are good. I mean, it looked good to me. Yeah. There's other things like I think Hasna is relatively new to the community. I think she's trying to work on. Like I was gonna point this out because this might be an area. It looked like she was stuck and could use some additional brainstorming, some help. This was about having a collapsible accordion when minimized. And I guess she's getting. Maybe she's getting enough help. I guess I'm not sure. But okay, so there's something that we've talked about a few times, and I don't know that anyone is working on it at the moment. When you're in Meshery, there's a calendar view when you're looking at performance tests that have run. So Nitish, you created an issue to track that request.
You mean like we discussed two issues over there. One is that on clicking that particular event, it should open up the model, and another one was to expand the calendar. And I think both of them were actually addressed. I mean, those PRs were merged. I'm not sure if they are actually merged, but they were open PRs for that. And I remember merging them, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Actually, the new calendar has been merged already, where it covers all the bottom part of the page. So what we discussed in the Meshery development call was that when Grafana is configured into the metrics, it extends. So we need to figure out a different design so that we can fit the calendar into the left side of the page so that it doesn't move to the bottom.
Yep, I remember.
And on adding to that, like I think, okay, for the performance graph that we discussed, that the data is not, it's not displayed properly. Not, I mean, by displaying, I mean, it's not formatted very well so that the people who are able to,
so I was also working on that, but like as far as I've understood till now, that data is also like auto-generated. So I'm not sure if we can like format the format it comes out in. Like I haven't been able to figure it out yet.
Okay, I'll yeah, we can discuss it in the Slack after this call.
All right.
Yeah.
And also I was trying to figure out a different design for the calendar, but I was having some difficulties with Grafana. So once I get it configured, then I can work on that too.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, one of the things to do is to auto adjust the calendar view so that instead of looking at a whole month, they're looking at like week or day, so that it the other thing to do is to adjust. I think we have in the performance graph paper, like, or in that area, we're showing two performance graphs side by side, I believe. So another thing to do is, instead of squishing the calendar, is to squish the performance graphs. Something else to do, even though it might be just transient and maybe it's not something that we persist in a stateful way, maybe not, is allowing people to drag and drop, readjust the UI. so that they can position, maybe they want a screen full of graphs, maybe they want a screen full of the calendar. So Nikhil, this is potentially something for you to look at. And I'm glad Nitish is here and Tanuj and Josh, Tanuj is on, right? Yeah, is maximize and minimize type things. So if we get into dragging and dropping widgets or components in the UI, can we maximize and minimize those as well? Like there's different facilities to provide the user to manage, to rearrange what they're looking at. So the question, does that strike any of you? Does one or more of those strike any of you as the better thing to do? Minimize, expand, drag and drop.
Yeah, it does. Like, yeah, I think it will have an impact all over the Meshery UI itself, because if we look at it, we also have a lot of components that are based on card, and we might want to do it in. Yeah, I'm not sure, but it's definitely it will definitely make some impact on the profiles performance page.
And just because we have the ability to let them drag and drop doesn't mean that we have to empower them to drag and drop certain things. When I say drag and drop, maybe I shouldn't say drag and drop. I just mean so that they can move widgets around, rearrange widgets.
Yeah.
Now, does anybody off the top of your head, does anyone have a sense of how challenging that is given our current, like there's definitely, there's actually really. Yeah.
It is challenging.
Oh. So
like,
yeah.
if anybody has any other opinion, like they can. It's, in my opinion, it's actually challenging.
Yeah, there's this relatively new React-based drag and drop library that's pretty fantastic. It's less about the dragging and the dropping that we need. It's more about just being draggable.
Actually, like I need to do some research about it, but then from what I know right now, like the APIs that are provided by the web browser, they are not actually fully performant. So in some cases, we might have to go for a different approach, but that totally depends on where we are using it. But that is something that we'll have to keep in mind before implementing the usual drag and drop API provided by the browser.
Mm-hmm. So
but I don't think we would actually be using the drag and drop API in this case, because we are just going to move around the components. But
so using cards, before you can use material card, you need card support checking and dragging, but both those behaviors are not implemented by default. If you have a draggable card, you should set accessibility delegate on. Like,
I think this is for Android, not React.
oh, thank you.
This is not the website for material design, I think.
This is not material UI, it is material design.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not exactly.
yeah, actually, can you search for React draggable? I saw that library, but I'm not sure how well it would.
There's well, now that we're looking at libraries, like there is this other one that I should point out. who doesn't think that that's a worthwhile, like, we allow people to drag things around. We can persist the state of, the positioning that they've chosen, I think, relatively easily, particularly with, like, maybe not from session to session, but at least for the duration of that particular session.
Okay, but I don't think we have that many components in a particular page, right? We only have at max 3 or 4. Don't you think that's something that we have to take into account?
Yeah, there's not a lot of pages. Like one of the
Except
pages,
this page.
this one, we do want to make these a little more dense. I mean, these cards need to, so Nikhil, like one of the things that none of us have really done well at just yet is proposing a different style interface. So something that's not cards. It's not intuitive that you're going to provision a service mesh by clicking the plus button. We've had different thoughts over time that maybe you would show something like this that says, if you want to interact with a service mesh, you maybe a Linkerd, show Linkerd here. Maybe there's a plus and a, like, maybe there's, what's that? What's this thing? This thing right here, this expandable tool set. But like potentially something, I don't know what this is called. Do you guys know?
Which one?
This help button, how it's expanding and contracting.
Yeah, it is. I'll just drop a link. Just a second.
But that might be, I mean, but that's kind of something to consider if we're talking about letting someone interact with a service mesh, that there's an action button that then opens up and lets them, navigate from there as to what they want to do. There's just some fresh thinking that needs to happen on this type of this set of interactions. Like Nikhil, I don't know if that's something that interests you.
No, I think we have to, how do I put it? Like, I think we have to iteratively try out new designs, I think, maybe something like that.
Yep, and so that's kind of what I'm pointing to. Is like, okay, so are you comfortable trying to create a couple of designs?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, okay. Yeah, good. They don't have to be implemented. I mean, they can be, you can write them down on paper, or you can do it in Figma, or you can,
Yeah, we'll just look for some references and then we can discuss if that works for everyone, I think. Then we can implement it.
Yeah,
Nice.
finally, we have someone who can design for Meshery.
And feel free to, I mean, like there's a number of references that we've talked about in the past, places to get inspiration from. Actually, Nitish and I were just looking at one. We actually took a recording. That's right, Nitish, we just took a recording of the difference between an operations center and a notification center. But so in Figma, there's a few hyperlinks to other tools that can provide good inspiration. So some of these tools, like, they've got some software that's relatively focused in similar fields as to what Meshery is focused on. And if you look at some of how the software is working, what it does, there's a real need for better dashboards. In Meshery. So here, I mean, these are examples of, there's a variety of different charts that we're not using that would be quite helpful. We do have these metrics. We have not these specific metrics, we have different metrics, but showing them is going to be quite helpful. And there's different things to show, different, but this is very much so, this is about monitoring applications and so services. So we are doing this, the same thing. These are good things to look at. If that helps Nikhil, and then, or Tanuj or whomever. There's another one. I mean, in some respects, it would have been compelling to potentially, I don't think we couldn't have purchased this and used it because of the licensing constraints, but this React-based theme does have a lot of well, inspiration to take it, for nothing else. Okay. There's another area that is really conceptually straightforward that we need to revise. It's pretty hideous today. It's the user area. Like it's very easy for us to add the users, the person's name, their first name, last name, some additional info about them, to separate out their profile from settings that they might have. We won't necessarily have all of these things to start with, but that's okay. Like we can build the back end after the fact as well. Okay. Thoughts, suggestions, comments. So there's another thing that's kind of going on right now that Nitish has opened up an issue on that has to deal with user preferences. So Nitish, did someone already jump on that?
Yeah, one guy is actually working on it right now.
Okay.
He was, yeah, today only he started working on it. So.
Okay. Yeah, there's, so one last thing that I'll show all of you, and hopefully this link works. And if it does, then you all need to go in and play with it a little bit, or at least anyone who's going to work on Meshree's UI, because it's really very similar to what we're trying to do. This is a low resolution screenshot at the moment. I think it's actually bigger. Maybe it just hasn't downloaded. But this piece of software is from Cisco. It's called InterSight. I was telling Tish that I led a 100-person team at Cisco to build Cisco's cloud management platform. And so these products are ones that I've spent a lot of time on. There's a demo of this particular product. It's called InterSight. When it was down, the demo was down over this last weekend. It might be back up. You can go in and play with a live system. You have to have an account where you just have a free account. You can just sign up. It's just a free account. There's no trial or credit card or anything like that. It's not. But they have systems that will spin up when you request to do an instant demo. In the background, it'll provision a new instance of that system, and it'll populate it with some fake data so you can start to play with it and see how it works. Now, it might not work right now. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, but you can see it's kind of taking a while. It's like provisioning in the background. Okay, good. So good. So it's coming up. This is good. This will be better than what Nitish and I looked at. But so this is the same screenshot that is in Figma. And you can go through and understand that this piece of software, it's monitoring hardware, and it's configuring hardware, it's configuring servers and virtual machines. And ultimately, interacting a bit with, like now, I guess, with Kubernetes some. And so they're like, this is very much so like the same things that, you know, we're more or less trying to do in Meshery. So this is a great place to come and be inspired from. This is their global alarms. This is like Meshery's notification center. Good that they're showing you of the two types that you really are concerned with, critical and warning, what's your total? If you click on one, I believe it opens up and filters just on that type. So critical or warning or all. The nice thing is they've got a lot of deep linking, or this is informational, so they don't show you a count because that's just info. They have deep linking most of the time from the alarm that you're looking at all the way to the piece of infrastructure that that alarm came from. The same thing, they have this requests center, which is like an operations center. It's like if you take an action on a piece of the system, that's an operation that gets invoked, and it can take some time to provision new storage, like format a hard drive is what you might request. And that request then gets tracked here, and you can see the progress. So there's no active requests going on. If you looked at like all requests, like here's one that was completed 6 hours ago. Someone wanted to deploy a Kubernetes cluster. 6 hours ago, it was successful. It was done over here. If you click for details, well, it takes us over to the request itself. What were the details of that request? If you think of this, someone's provisioning a Kubernetes cluster, and so they give all these, they started it then, this is the person that was doing it. This is the execution flow. So it had to provision all these things as part of creating a Kubernetes cluster. And so you could watch it as it was going. And Meshery will have a workflow engine in the near future in which it will have execute a number of steps. Today, that just happens sort of internal to adapters. In the future, though, we'll break that out and have an execution flow. So anyway, point is, go play around, be inspired, get the link from here in the notification system. Cool. Well, that puts us at time. Any comments from anybody? So Nikhil, as you're thinking about it, like how to potentially get rid of those cards and do something different, that's a great piece of software to play with. Cool. Okay. Well, so we have got the WASM filters meeting coming up in a couple of hours, so I might see some of you there.
Yeah. So then if anyone has no topics to be discussed, then I think we'll wrap up off with this meeting. Thank you all for joining. We'll meet next week, Monday. And if you're engaged somewhere else, we'll meet in other meetings as well. Thank you. Bye all.
Josh, bye all. See ya.
Okay, bye guys.